So in this video I want to show you how we can create some techno patch with the 𝗕𝗿𝗀𝘀 or possibly any other electronic drum pad. And the idea is that you don't just have sounds that you can then put together, but to have a kit where you can actually play that style of music. So you have a kick drum sound, some sort of bass sound, and also a hi-hat sound that you can organically merge into just one playing experience. And it kind of looks like this. If you're new to this channel, let me quickly say hi. My name is Jannis, and on my channel you can find videos about music production and performance, and also particularly about using electronic drum pads, and more particularly even the 𝗕𝗿𝗀𝘀. So in case you'll enjoy this video, just keep in mind that there's more to be found on my channel. So let's first look at the kick drum. And you see it has this kind of rumbling underneath, which you also often hear in techno. I mean, here you have to think a little around the corner, because usually I would only use delay, but here the delay is very digital, so you can't change any tone of the delay. So I also used reverb. You have to make sure to have a good amount of feedback, because the feedback means how many repetitions you get. So if it's off, we don't have any. And if it's at 0, we have 1 repetition. And then if you increase this amount, we have more of them. And somehow I liked it at 9 because it goes a little more, or it goes a little further than just 3 repetitions. But yeah, I just want to have this constant rumble, and somehow at 9 I felt the most comfortable with it. The delay is in tempo 135. You can press shift and the delay thing once you're in the delay menu in order to access the tempo. And the only thing you have to do is make sure that you play in sync with the delay. So if you pick another tempo, for example, you have to make sure to hear 3 repetitions until you hear the next note. And so if you go faster, you just have to play faster. And we were here. So that's the first thing you need to make sure, and it's already quite a challenge to do this. So that's the first thing you could practice. I made another video speaking in detail about the delays. I'll link it in the info box if you're interested to watch this later. I also then added some reverb additionally, which here is the P4 setting with -6, because I wanted to have something dirty, which are usually some plate type sounds. And if you go into the minus area, it sounds a little dirtier. So yeah, also if you're using just some plugin, I like those dark sounds, a bit like in a cave. I think this works really well in order to add a little bit of this rumble to the kick drum. And I was quite happy with it. And just as a little information, the kick drum I used was nothing fancy. It was just the second kick that you can find under the individual drum menu. Next, let's look for some hi-hat. Again, I was just going to the individual drum menu and was looking for a hi-hat there. I usually have to lower it in volume a little because they can sound really sharp. And I found this one, and you can hear again that also the hi-hat, where is it? It's on pad 6. I'm also using the reverb and delay here. We just have to use what we have, so it's a kind of nice limitation. If you're doing the same type of approach just with MIDI inside a DAW, and you can add individual effects and everything, of course you have way more freedom. But also it's nice to stay minimalist and also to not have too many effects. And it kind of works because you get those repetitions in order to make it more rhythmical, and also the reverb kind of works for the hi-hat. And then we have our next challenge, which is to play alternating strokes between this pad and this pad. And you get this groove. Maybe you start just with the kick and then do this. And try to do this in time. And yeah, it's already quite some challenge. If it's too fast, just pick another tempo. So remember, just go back to the delay and shift delay again. And then you do some slower tempo, although this can be challenging as well. Slower tempos actually show your flaws. So if you have some inaccuracies in where you put the strokes, you're more likely to find them in slower tempos. So if you feel like something feels weird if you're doing it in faster tempos like 135, just try practicing it with a slower tempo. It can feel really awkward, but that's good because you really need to focus where your strokes are, and I can really recommend doing this. By the way, if you're generally interested in improving your playing skills with the 𝗕𝗲𝘀𝘀, be warmly invited to check out a full class that I made about learning drums specifically with a small electronic drum pad. You can find it on my Skillshare profile, and there's a link down below in the description with which you can access Skillshare 1 month for free and just try my class. Potentially also you find other great classes because they have quite a big catalog. And if you don't like it, there's no risk for you. You can just cancel anytime without any strings attached. So the third sound is not a preset, so it's not a drum or patch you can find on the 𝗕𝗏drum. You have to create it yourself, but it's very easy to do so. It's just a couple of steps. So the important thing is that you have to select one of those A waveforms, and particularly A3 or 4 or 5, because those are sawtooth and square waves. In general, this A section gives you those waveforms of classic synthesizers. And there's a little effect on it because I have some sample reduction. I felt it gives a bit more character to the sound, because without it, it sounds like this. Actually, here you can also hear that with those left values you can get detuned sounds and intervals, and at 75 you get some octave, which just makes the sound a bit fuller. And I like the character that it got from the sample reduction. So maybe you don't like it, it's up to you, you can play around with it. It's anyways, as I mentioned, not a full sound design tutorial, but here I just felt it adds some value to the sound. Also, I have some longer video of creating bass sounds with the 𝗕𝗏𝘀𝘀 that I'm going to link in the info box, so you can also consider watching this later if you want to go a bit deeper into this direction. And yeah, you can further tweak the sound with a filter that helps a bit shaping the sound, because if this is at 0, it's a bit dull. And with the filter, it just gets a little more movement and shape. Again, in this video, I explain this more, how this works. And also a decay that is a little shortish, because if the decay is too long, you get those effects. So you have to make sure that it's nice and bouncy. And that's basically what happens here. And of course, you hear there's some delay, and quite a good bit of it, because here I use more delay than I did with the kick drum and the hi-hat, because I don't want the initial hit to be so audible, so it sounds almost like the kick drum would duck the bass part. I can exaggerate. If I put this on 50, we don't even hear it. Maybe you like it this way and you want to go all the way, and somewhere in between I thought it's a bit smoother. But it's a kind of cool way to imitate the sidechain compression ducking effect that you often hear in electronic music and techno. And also a little bit of reverb, just that adds to the overall glue, and I kind of enjoyed this cave feeling of the reverb, so I thought also the bass or synth can benefit a little from it. And once you've set this up, you just copy it to some other pads. I mean, first you also under pitch select some pitch for it. Then you can always press Shift and copy. And just then select the next pad, for example this one, again press Shift and paste. So now you see that I have the same sound on both pads, and then you can just find another pitch for this second pad. So maybe you want this to be a little low. And the same I did here. And this way I just have 4 different pitches, and you can just use your intuition for it. You can also just use some tuner in order to find some notes you want to use. And this way you get those bass sounds. And again, maybe you want to try first to just play the kick drum, for example, and the bass. So you start with the kick and just do this in order to get comfortable. And once you feel comfortable, try adding the hi-hat. Which is really fun. And then you can also try changing your left hand to another pad, so you can actually play little bass lines. Start like this. And what you saw me doing in the intro was a little different thing. So in case this feels still doable for you, you can again increase the difficulty level a little and play this type of rhythm with your left hand. I just show you the thing together with the kick. So it gets a little more rhythmical, and then if you change to different pitches, you actually have some very driving thing already going. understand, wow, it's actually very tough to play. I'm very curious to hear from you in the comments if this works for you or if you enjoy doing this even just as a technique exercise. Maybe you found some other nice things to stumble upon. Be warmly invited to share that. And otherwise, I just suggest this playlist here where you find all my Nord-Drum 3P videos, or generally if you're interested in stuff about electronic drum pads, you'll find more content there. Apart from that, I wish you inspiration with whatever it is that you create and hope to see you soon again at this channel. Bye!